Let's talk about what's happening in Afghanistan. We've said this before, we'll say it again. The dreaded Taliban is back to its oppressive ways. There has been another outrageous diktat by the Taliban 2.0. Now they have barred women from higher education, yet another assault on women's rights and freedom. Our next report tells you more.
The whole world is moving into a new year, ready to enter 2023. But not Afghan women. For them, the clock is turning back to the 1990s. Their worst dreams are all coming true, one after the other. On December 20th, this group of women walked to their university in Kabul for an exam. By evening, they were all expelled. Why? Because of their gender. In the latest diktat, Taliban has barred all women from attending university. The highest level of education which Afghan girls will now be able to attain is grade 6. Just imagine that. When the Taliban took over Afghanistan on August 15th, 2021, in just 2 days, they started making tall promises. Opportunities for women, amnesty for government officials, safety of minorities. They said it was a new and improved Taliban. We'd warned you then about how it was all one big fat lie. Now it's playing out for the world to see. The Taliban said exactly what the international community wanted to hear. They said women will work, women will play an active and inclusive role. A year and a half later, this is what is left of those promises. No education for women, no jobs, no freedom to work. The return of the all-enveloping cloaks. No freedom of movement. Parks and gyms out of bounds for women. Women can no longer travel long distances alone. No say, no voice or choice. Women are being publicly flogged. A murder of freedom and democracy. Decades of progress, all undone in a few months. Let's rewind a bit. For Afghan women, it hasn't always been this way. Until the conflict of the 1970s, the 20th century had seen relatively steady progress for women's rights in the country. Just see these visuals. Can you believe this is Afghanistan? Women had the freedom to wear whatever they wanted to. Cinemas, universities, all of it was accessible for them. But during the coups and Soviet occupation in the 1970s, and then under the Taliban rule in the 1990s, women lost everything. They were essentially invisible in public life, imprisoned in their homes. Today, when the Taliban is back in power, all that they wanted was food, work and education. Is that too much to ask for? Well, under the Taliban, yes. We must give credit to the Afghan women because they fought this time. They pushed back and protested against the regressive laws. Voices of dissent crossed borders. But soon they were silenced with guns, flogging and other punishment. When it comes to women's education, allow us to expose the duplicity of the Taliban leaders. This is Qalandar Ibad, the health minister of Taliban in Afghanistan. He has ensured that his daughter completes her medical education. Sources say she now works as a doctor in Islamabad. This is Suhail Shaheen, Taliban spokesperson. Two of his daughters study in state-regulated schools in Doha. The older daughter even played football for her school team. And this is Deputy Foreign Minister Sher Mohammad Abbas Tanikzai. His daughter has completed her medical education in Doha. Sources say over 24 top Taliban leaders are educating their daughters at schools in Doha, Peshawar and Karachi, not under their watch. Mind you, we're not opposing the girls being educated here. But what about nearly 20 million women in Afghanistan? What about those girls whose dreams are dying young? The world stands silent on atrocities against women of Afghanistan, Global powers that were once calling out loud the Taliban's actions seem to have turned their faces away when it comes to women's rights. The US has condemned Taliban's latest diktat and has warned of costs.
The Taliban should expect that this decision, which is in contravention to the commitments they have made repeatedly and publicly to their own people, will carry costs, will carry concrete costs for them.
But is condemnation enough? We've heard this warning from the US before. What about action? Washington clearly hasn't cut off ties with the Taliban. Negotiations and dialogue continue. Yesterday, 2 American nationals were released by the Taliban in what appears to be a goodwill gesture, which means diplomatic channels are certainly up and running. So what we feared when the Taliban took over is actually happening. World leaders have moved on from Afghanistan.
WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.